The U.S. House just passed three major bills: the Genius Act, the Clarity Act, and the Anti-CBDC. We're going to look at the actual document that talks about exactly what these are, but first kind of give you a brief on a simple version of how to understand these and how they're affecting the crypto markets. As we see right now, there's already been great effect throughout the crypto market, with XRP actually hitting an all-time high today. But XRP is not the only one getting love. If I move myself up here, you'll see that Bitcoin, of course, has just been crushing it at 119,000. Ethereum is up 22% on the week at 3,435. Ethereum inflows have been insane. There's been like $1 billion in inflows from institutional money in the last week. XRP sets a new all-time high. I actually hold 0 XRP, but huge congrats to the holders that believed. It's up 34% on the last 7 days. With all that being said, let's look specifically into these bills that were voted on and then passed through the U.S. House. We have the Clarity Act. This is just the announcements. We have the Genius Act, and we have the Anti-CBDC that are finally officially through. So I have a pretty simple image that I want to start off with before we go into like the whole document of what exactly this is. We're going to start off for those that might not want to really care about all the fine detail, but want to just look at this. To me, this is a pretty easy way to understand it. The Genius Act is a stablecoin regulation. Basically, any USD applies to USD-backed stablecoins, one-to-one reserves, mandatory monthly audits, federal or state license to issue, and the goal is to stop another Terra and build trust. So basically, stablecoins are what you can move your money into without, say, putting it in your bank account. So let's say that you had a lot of money in XRP and you wanted to move some of that to stables. You wanted to move $1,000 to stables. Well, that $1,000 should be pegged to the dollar, so it should be 1-to-1 for every dollar. And there's a lot of things you can do with these. I actually highlighted this comment in my bookmark, but you know, like one of the people that I follow is like Wasabi, and they allow you to get yield on stables. Coinbase allows you to get yield on stables, so you can actually earn a higher yield on these stables instead of just letting it sit in cash, or like even compared to stocks. If you can get up to like a 3% yield, 4% yield on this, it might be better than even letting it sit in your bank account. So this is huge, because what happened with Terra is that the founder Do Kwon basically used an algorithmic way to have the stables pinned, and it ended up collapsing. It didn't work anymore. So what this does is, this is supposed to help provide clarity and safety on one-to-one, meaning if a company claims that they have proof of funds and reserves, so if anything were to happen, they could replace that money, they could. That way you don't have people losing millions of dollars of their money with a stable coin that's just not backed by anything. So this is good. This provides clarity and safety. You know, you might have done a couple hundred in stables, a couple thousand in stables, but this will allow eventually for people to do millions and millions, maybe even billions in stable coins without any fear that something's going to happen. Next, we're going to move on to the Clarity Act. The Clarity is splits oversight between the SEC and the CFTC. Commodities, CFTC. So like examples would be like Bitcoin and mature tokens. The securities, the SEC token sales, projects can decentralize out of the SEC, and then self-custody rights protected. This is basically just a step towards protecting decentralized assets. So for those that do want to like self-custody their Bitcoin, their Ethereum, whatever, this kind of gives them a step in the right direction of clarity on exactly how to do it. So basically this Clarity Act, as Grok says here, just provides clarity and regulatory framework for digital assets, and then definitely classifies them under commodities. As you can see here for the CFTC and Bitcoin, exempting it from mature ones from the SEC rules. So basically, if it's mature already, then the SEC is not going to come back and say, well, you know, it's actually this way. Requiring anti-money laundering measures, trading standards, and decentralized criteria to foster crypto innovation with safeguards. And as you can see, the market has reacted accordingly. And then lastly, we have the Anti-CBDC Act, which is basically making sure that there is no Fed coin. This makes sure that the government cannot create their own coin that you have to go to and you're forced to go through, like the US dollar. And at that point, they can manipulate it and basically do whatever they want with it. This puts a guardrail in place saying, hey, they cannot do that. And kind of to go a little bit further with this, I really like this chart. It talks about each one, the goals, the covers, and all that. And we're gonna deep dive in this video. So let's just dive into it. Going to the first one we mentioned for the Genius Act. This regulates stablecoins, which is the goal. It covers back stablecoins. This is going to make sense with people like Circle and PayPal and Tether, USDC. I can't think of any off the top of my head. USDT. Like there's a, oh, that would be Tether. There's a lot of those that this would hit. It requires licenses, audits, and reserves, which for these companies is going to be no problem. Custody rights is non-applicable. Token clarity is only for stables. This is just going to require monthly audits and one-to-one redemption. So basically, again, this is just making sure that they have the funds that they're claiming to have. And then the regulators are going to be the Fed and the state. But with this, it's fine because this, we need regulation. We need safety to make sure that these stable coins are actually stable and actually backed up, instead of a company being like just claiming they have a one-to-one reserve and they don't actually have it. The Clarity Act, this goal is to define the SEC versus the CFTC roles. So this is going to cover all crypto tokens and projects. It's going to hit people like exchanges, so like Coinbase, Kraken, developers. The SEC, the CFTC registration disclosures are going to be required. It's to protect self-custody. It's to define tokens as securities or commodities. It's to projects and graduate from SEC to CFTC, so that's a big change. And this is, the regulators are going to be the SEC and the CFTC. Now, from my understanding, already established tokens that are commodities like Bitcoin aren't really, they're not going to be regulating this. They're not going to be trying to define clarity once they graduate from the SEC to the CFTC. So the SEC is not going to come after foreign projects that have already so-called graduated. The Anti-CBDC Act bans governments from CBDCs, covers Fed-issued digital currency. This hits the Fed and the banks, prohibits the use of CBDC use, protected. This is the token clarity. So it's protected custody rights again. Token clarity is non-applicable. CBDC research and pilots blocked, and regulators are going to be the Fed blocked. So this is like the overall description. Shout out to Crier for kind of giving this framework breakdown. If you want to look into the full thing, you can go to the congress.gov, and this is actually, it was originally the HRS 580, and you can read this full report. Actually, put it all into ChatGPT, and it pretty much just says what we just talked about. Basically, these are the type of bills. They called it the anti-CBDC bill. Bans the Fed from offering direct financial services to individuals, prohibits use of CBDCs for monetary policy, speeds up passage with minimal debate. The stablecoin regulatory bill regulates payment in stablecoins, enables debate and final vote with minimum procedural hurdles. And then finally, well, I think that pretty much covers it. The main thing I want to get out of this video is that you kind of understand the digital framework that's happening here and what's happening in the market. This isn't the only good news. Lots of other things have been happening. I literally just saw on my timeline that ETH got approved for ETF staking, which is huge. You can earn a yield through your ETF investments. And then also Injective got an ETF proposal. I don't think they've been approved yet. So that's good for the Injective blockchain, which is on here somewhere. It's probably like top 50 or something like that. But anyways, I want to do a little bit different, more informative video today. Just really updating you guys on these big changes going on in the government. If you like this explanatory style video that really breaks down these rules and hopefully a way that you can understand them, let me know. Let me know if you made it this far, just being like, hey, this helped, or hey, that wasn't my content style. I didn't really like it. Either way is fine. Leave a like if you did like it, or even if you didn't make it this far, subscribe, and I will see you guys next video. Appreciate you guys, and see you next time.